The extraction has failed, completely catastrophically failed. 12 of America's most elite operators, Navy SEALs from DEVGRU, the most lethal special operations unit on the planet, are trapped inside a crumbling compound. Outside those walls, 300 ISIS fighters armed to the teeth, hungry for American blood. The mission was supposed to be surgical. Get in. Rescue the hostages. Get out. Instead, intelligence was wrong. The compound was a trap. And now, 12 warriors who have never known defeat are counting their final magazines. Master Chief Derek Reaper Hollins, 15 years in DEVGRU, 200 successful operations, keys his radio with hands that have never trembled. They're trembling now. Overlord, this is Reaper. We are black on ammo. Enemy forces converging from all sides. Request immediate air support. We are not going to last 30 minutes. Static. Then a voice crackles back. Cold, clinical, devastating. Reaper, Overlord, all air assets are engaged. Earliest support window is 4 hours. 4 hours. They won't survive 4 minutes. Reaper's jaw tightens. He's led men through hell and brought them home. But tonight he's going to watch his brothers die. He looks at his team, bloodied, exhausted, defiant to the end. And then his eyes land on her, crouched in the corner, silent, small, completely out of place. Technical specialist Elena Vasquez, 26 years old, 5'3". Intelligence support. She's not supposed to be here. She was only attached to the mission to handle communications equipment. She's never fired a shot in combat. She's never seen blood outside of training videos. And right now, every operator in this room is thinking the same thing. She's going to get us killed. Chief Petty Officer Brandt voices it first. Why the hell is she here? She's not even a shooter. She's a goddamn desk jockey. His voice carries across the room. I heard she couldn't even finish the obstacle course at basic. She's going to panic and compromise our position. Someone put a muzzle on her. Elena says nothing. She just stares at the floor the same way she always does when they mock her. The same way she did when they accidentally knocked her tray in the mess hall. The same way she did when someone wrote tourist on her locker in permanent marker. Reaper watches her for a moment, then turns away. No time to babysit. No time for dead weight. But what Reaper doesn't know is that the dead weight in the corner has a secret that's about to save every life in this room. What could a girl who couldn't finish basic possibly know that 12 elite operators don't? The answer is everything, but they'll have to survive long enough to find out. Elena Vasquez grew up in El Paso, Texas, right on the border, daughter of a mechanic father and a mother who cleaned houses for rich families. She was always small, always quiet, always the girl who got picked last in gym class. She joined the military because she wanted to matter, but the military told her she never would. At least that's what the file says. Here's what the file doesn't say. Here's what no one in that room knows. Elena Vasquez isn't just an intelligence specialist. She's a ghost. When she was 19, buried in the military's endless aptitude assessments, a single test result triggered an alert. Her spatial reasoning scores were unprecedented. Her pattern recognition was off the charts. Her ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously was something analysts had never seen. Within 6 months, she was quietly recruited into a program that doesn't officially exist, Project Phantom. A classified initiative to develop the next generation of tactical infiltration specialists. Not soldiers, not shooters, shadows. For 4 years, Elena trained in facilities that don't appear on any map. She learned to read environments the way musicians read notes. She mastered movement techniques that would make a cat look clumsy. She could map an entire building's layout from the sound of footsteps on different floor surfaces. She trained with former Mossad agents who could disappear in plain sight. She studied under a retired SAS operative who could move through laser grids without breaking a single beam. She became what JSOC Command quietly calls a pathmaker, someone who creates extraction routes through impossible situations. Her specialty, getting people out when there's no way out. But Project Phantom operates in absolute secrecy. Her skills are classified above top secret. Her cover is technical specialist, forgettable, unimpressive, invisible, the perfect disguise because no one suspects the quiet girl in the corner. No one watches the one they've already dismissed, and that's exactly how she wants it. Her mother used to tell her, Mija, the smallest hands can unlock the biggest doors. Alina never understood what that meant, until the day she realized being underestimated wasn't a weakness. It was a weapon. Inside the compound, the situation deteriorates by the minute. Movement, east wall, they're massing for a breach, Reaper barks orders. Conserve ammunition, single shots only, make every round count. But everyone knows the math. 12 shooters, 40 rounds left between them, 300 enemies. The math doesn't work. And through it all, Alina watches, not frozen in fear like they assume, calculating. She's been mapping the compound since they arrived. Every window, every structural weakness, every shadow. She's been listening to the enemy's movements, their communication patterns, their tactical rhythm, and she's found something everyone else missed, a path, but using it means exposing herself, destroying the cover she's maintained for 4 years. The voices from her past echo in her mind. You'll never be a real operator. Stick to your computers, little girl. You don't belong here. The doubt creeps in. Maybe they're right, maybe she's not ready. Maybe she'll fail and get everyone killed. She thinks about her mother, working 3 jobs so Alina could have a chance. She thinks about the promise she made to herself the day she graduated from Phantom training. One day, I'll prove I deserve to be here. That day is now. But will courage be enough when skill has been doubted for so long? Alina stands. Her movement is so smooth, so silent that it takes a moment before anyone notices. Reaper turns. Vasquez, what are you? There's a drainage tunnel. Her voice is different now. Not quiet, not uncertain. Calm, clinical, commanding. What? 40 meters northeast. Pre-war construction. Opens into a wadi that's been dry for 6 months. The enemy hasn't covered it because they assume it's collapsed. And how in the hell would you know that? Alina meets his eyes. And for the first time, he sees something that makes him step back. Because I've been mapping their patrol pattern since we landed. They rotate every 7 minutes. There's a 90-second window between shifts on the east sector. That window opens in. She checks her watch. 4 minutes. Reaper stares at her. That tunnel could be rigged, could be blocked, could be suicide. Alina starts moving toward her pack. It's not. How can you possibly? She pulls out a device no one recognizes. Compact, advanced, definitely not standard issue. Because I already scanned it. Reaper's eyes narrow. Who the hell are you, Vasquez? She doesn't answer. Instead, she moves to the wall, and what happens next changes everything. She scales a broken pillar in 3 seconds, soundless, effortless, like gravity is optional. She reaches a shattered window, peers out, then drops back down without displacing a single piece of rubble. 2 snipers on the north building, 4 roving guards in the courtyard. Response teams staged behind the west wall, but they've made a mistake. She points to a schematic she's somehow already drawn in the dust. They're focused on the doors because they think that's our only exit. They don't know about the tunnel, and they won't see us if we move in 3 groups 30 seconds apart using these shadow lines. She traces the path. It's insane. It's brilliant. It's their only chance. Reaper looks at the schematic, then at Alina. What unit trained you? She finally answers. One that doesn't exist. The words hang in the air. Brant steps forward. You're telling me you've been playing pretend this whole time, while we've been out here bleeding? Alina turns to him. Her voice is steady. I've been doing my job, the job you never knew existed, the job that's about to save your life. He opens his mouth, closes it, because there's nothing left to say. The girl they mocked, the girl they dismissed, the girl they called dead weight, she's the only reason they're going to see morning. Reaper makes the call. We follow her lead, questions later, survival now. Some of the men exchange glances. Trusting your life to a woman who couldn't finish the obstacle course feels wrong, but dying in this compound feels worse. Alina doesn't wait for agreement. She moves to the door. Stay close, stay quiet, do exactly what I do. And with that, she slips into the darkness. The most elite operators in the world follow a 5'3" intel specialist into the unknown. Alina leads. The most elite operators in the world follow a 5'3" intel specialist through the darkness. She moves like smoke, like moonlight, like a ghost. She signals stops before anyone else even detects the threat. She guides them through gaps in enemy coverage that shouldn't exist. She neutralizes 2 sentries with a combat technique none of them have ever seen. Silent, efficient, almost elegant. 1 sentry never knew what happened. She approached from his blind side, used his own momentum against him, and he was unconscious before his body hit the ground. The 2nd sentry started to turn. She was already inside his reach. A precise strike to the nerve cluster. He dropped without a sound. Brant watches, his mouth slightly open. He's been in firefights across 3 continents. He's trained with the best, and he's never seen anyone move like that. They reach the drainage tunnel. It's narrow, dark, and exactly where she said it would be. One by one they enter. Reaper is the last through. They're going to make it, and then everything goes wrong. A flare shoots into the sky. They've been spotted. The enemy floods toward the tunnel entrance. Flashlights cutting through the darkness. Gunfire erupting. "They'll be on us in 2 minutes," someone yells. Reaper turns to Alina. "We're not fast enough. The wounded are slowing us down. They'll catch us before we reach the exit." Alina looks back at the tunnel entrance, then at the team. 12 men who mocked her, who dismissed her, who never once saw her as an equal. She makes a decision. And in that moment, something inside her shifts. Not anger, not revenge. Clarity. She knows exactly what she has to do. "Keep moving. Get to the extraction point. I'll buy you time." "Vasquez, that's suicide." "That's an order, Chief." She says it with such authority that Reaper actually hesitates. "I didn't survive 4 years of training to die in a tunnel, but I didn't survive it to watch good men die either. Go, now." She doesn't wait for an answer. She disappears back into the darkness. Reaper stands there, torn. Every instinct screams at him to go back, to not leave anyone behind. But she's right. If they all stay, they all die. If she buys them time, maybe, just maybe, they make it out. He makes the hardest decision of his career. He keeps moving. Behind him in the tunnel, Alina Vasquez prepares for war. What happens next will become legend within JSOC. Classified legend. The kind they don't write reports about. Alina Vasquez, alone in that tunnel, uses every technique she's ever learned to create chaos. She collapses sections of the tunnel behind her using precisely placed charges she carried in her pack. Equipment no one asked about. Equipment she knew she might need. She triggers false echoes that make them think she's everywhere at once. She uses darkness and confusion to turn hunters into the hunted. 15 minutes. She holds them for 15 minutes, enough time for the team to reach the extraction wadi, enough time for the emergency helicopter to finally arrive. But those 15 minutes cost her. A piece of shrapnel catches her shoulder. A near miss from an AK round burns across her ribs. She's bleeding, she's exhausted, but she's not done. Not yet. She plants her last charge at the tunnel's midpoint, sets the timer. Then she runs. Not away from the enemy, toward the exit, racing against the clock, racing against the explosion, racing against her own body that's screaming at her to stop. The charge detonates. The tunnel shakes, dust and debris fill the air, and Alina keeps running, through the smoke, through the pain, through the doubt that whispers she's not going to make it. She emerges from the tunnel covered in dust, bleeding from her shoulder, walking like she just finished a morning jog. The entire DEVGRU team is starring from inside the helicopter. "How?" Brant can't finish the sentence. Alina climbs into the helicopter without a word. She doesn't need to explain. The results speak for themselves. As the helicopter lifts off, she looks back at the compound, the place where she was dismissed, the place where she proved them all wrong, and she feels nothing. No triumph, no vindication, just exhaustion, and maybe, just maybe, a quiet sense of peace. Reaper sits across from her. He's trying to find words, any words, but what do you say to someone who just saved your life when you spent the entire mission doubting her? Alina closes her eyes, not to sleep, just to rest, and in the darkness behind her eyelids she sees her mother's face, hears her voice. "Mija, the smallest hands can unlock the biggest doors." She understands now. It was never about size, it was never about strength. It was about knowing your value, even when no one else did. 3 weeks later, JSOC headquarters, Virginia. The debriefing room is standing room only. Generals, admirals, intelligence directors. And in the center, seated at a simple table, is Alina Vasquez. She looks smaller somehow in this room full of brass and ribbons, but there's something different about her now. The way she holds herself, the way she meets their eyes, she's not hiding anymore. The mission report is damning, not for Alina, but for everyone who doubted her. Single-handedly identified the extraction route, single-handedly led the team through enemy territory, single-handedly held off enemy forces during the final escape. 0 casualties, mission success. General Morrison leans forward. He's a man who's seen 50 years of combat, who's buried friends, who's made impossible decisions. And right now, he's looking at Alina Vasquez like she's something he's never encountered before. Technical Specialist Vasquez, your actions in Syria have been reviewed at the highest levels. Effective immediately, you are being transferred to JSOC Special Operations Command. Full operator status. No cover required. He pauses, lets the weight of those words settle. Welcome out of the shadows, Ghost. The room applauds, but Alina barely reacts, because she's not doing this for applause. She never was. She did it because it was right. Because those men, despite everything, deserved to go home. Because her mother didn't work 3 jobs so Alina could hide her light. She worked 3 jobs so Alina could shine when it mattered most. And it mattered most in a crumbling compound in Syria when 12 lives hung in the balance. Later in the hallway, Reaper finds her. Vasquez, wait, she turns. The Master Chief, the man who's faced death 100 times without flinching, actually looks humbled. It's not a look that sits naturally on his face, but it's there, real and raw. I've worked with the best. Delta, SEAL Team 6, CAG, all of them. I've never seen anyone move like you, think like you. He extends his hand. I should have seen it sooner, we all should have, I'm sorry. Alina shakes his hand, her grip is firm, confident. You weren't supposed to see it, Chief. That was the point. She starts to walk away, then stops, turns back. But for what it's worth, the best operators I've ever seen are the ones who can admit when they were wrong. Reaper almost smiles. It's a rare thing. Will I see you again? Alina glances back. Probably not. That's kind of my thing. She walks into the sunlight and seems to vanish before she even leaves the building. And Reaper stands there, watching her go, understanding for the first time that the most dangerous warriors aren't always the ones you can see. Sometimes they're the ones you overlook, the ones you dismiss, the ones who exist in the spaces between your certainty. Alina Vasquez was never what they thought she was. Not a desk jockey, not dead weight, not a tourist. She was a weapon hidden in plain sight, a shadow trained to move through the impossible, a ghost who existed so that others could survive. JSOC called her Ghost because no Navy SEAL ever saw her twice. But here's the thing about ghosts. They don't haunt the people who believe in them. They haunt the ones who refuse to. Every person who mocked Alina, every voice that told her she didn't belong, every doubt, every insult, every dismissive glance. She used it all as fuel, not for revenge, for refinement. She became extraordinary not to prove them wrong, but because she knew deep in her bones what she was capable of. She just needed the moment. And when that moment came, she didn't just rise to it, she transcended it. But there's a cost to being a ghost. A cost Alina is only beginning to understand. Because when you live in the shadows, when you train to be invisible, when your entire existence is a secret, where do you go when you want to be seen? She sits in her new quarters at JSOC, stares at the commendation letter on her desk. Full operator status. No cover required. It should feel like victory. Instead, it feels like exposure. For 4 years, she was safe in her anonymity. No one expected anything from Alina, the tech specialist. No one looked to her for answers. No one judged her against impossible standards. But now she's Ghost. Now she's the woman who saved DVGRU. Now every mission, every decision, every moment will be measured against that night in Syria. And she's terrified, not of the enemy, not of the danger, of failing to be who they think she is. She thinks about Brandt's words in the compound. She's going to get us killed. He was wrong that night. But what about the next mission? What if she makes a mistake? What if the path she chooses leads to death instead of salvation? What if she's not as good as they think she is? The doubt is familiar. It's the same doubt that followed her through basic, through every training evolution, through every moment she felt like an imposter in a world that wasn't built for someone like her. But there's a difference now. She's proven herself, to them, to JSOC, to the world. The only person she hasn't proven it to is herself, and that's the hardest person to convince, because she knows all her weaknesses, all her fears, all the moments she almost quit. She knows the truth they don't see. She's not fearless, she's not invincible. She's just a girl from El Paso who learned to move through the dark. And sometimes that feels like enough. Sometimes it doesn't. 6 months pass. Alina Ghost Vasquez becomes a name whispered in the halls of JSOC, not loudly, not publicly, but whispered. Did you hear about Ghost? I heard she extracted a team from Mosul, 0 casualties. I heard she can read a room just by listening to the air flow. Some of the stories are true, some are exaggerated. Alina doesn't correct either, because the legend serves a purpose. It makes the enemy hesitate. It makes her team trust. And trust, in this world, is the difference between life and death. She runs operations now, not as support, as lead. She plans infiltrations for teams that thought they'd seen everything. She finds paths through impossible terrain. She turns situations that should end in bloodshed into quiet victories no one will ever hear about. And with each success, the weight grows heavier. Because now people depend on her. Now families wait for soldiers who trust Alina to bring them home. And she can't fail them. She won't. But late at night, in the quiet moments between missions, Alina still hears her mother's voice. Mija, you don't have to carry the world. But she does, because she knows something most people don't. The world is carried by people who refuse to put it down, by people who see a burden and think, I can hold that, by people who understand that strength isn't about how much you can lift, it's about how long you can hold on. There's a new mission briefing. High-value target extraction in Yemen. The team is experienced. The plan is solid, but there's a problem. The extraction point is compromised. The enemy knows they're coming. It's a trap, just like Syria. The room falls silent. Everyone's thinking the same thing. This is impossible. And then someone says, get Ghost. Alina walks into the briefing room. 12 faces turn to her. But this time there's no dismissal, no doubt, just expectation and pressure, so much pressure she looks at the map, studies the terrain, calculates the variables, and she sees it, the path, it's there, hidden, dangerous, but possible. We go in from the north, she says. They're expecting the south. We use the Wadi system, move during the sandstorm that hits in. She checks the weather data. 18 hours. That's a level 4 sandstorm, someone says. No one moves in that. We do, Alina says, because they won't either. That's our window. The room debates, argues, questions, but in the end they agree because Ghost hasn't been wrong yet. And that terrifies her more than any enemy ever could, because the day she's wrong, people die. The day she's wrong, the legend ends. The day she's wrong, she becomes what they thought she was in that compound in Syria. Dead weight. The mission launches. The sandstorm is worse than predicted. Visibility is 0. The wind screams, the sand cuts like glass, but Alina moves through it like she was born in the storm. She leads them through the wadi, through the chaos, through the impossible. They reach the target building, extract the HVT, and they're clear before the enemy even knows they were there. 0 casualties. Mission success. Again. On the flight back, the team is celebrating, but Alina is quiet. The mission commander sits next to her. You okay, Ghost? She nods, doesn't speak, because she's not okay. She's exhausted, not physically, emotionally. The weight of being perfect is crushing her, and she doesn't know how much longer she can carry it. Can I tell you something? The commander says. Alina looks at him. He's older, grizzled, the kind of operator who's seen things that would break most people. I've been doing this for 22 years, and I've learned something. The best operators aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail and keep going. You don't have to be perfect, Ghost. You just have to be brave enough to try. Alina feels something crack inside her. Not break, crack like ice under pressure. And through that crack something warm seeps in, relief. What if I'm wrong one day, she asks. Her voice is small, vulnerable. Then we adapt, he says. That's what we do. But hiding who you are because you're afraid of failing, that's not bravery, that's fear. And you're too damn good to live in fear. She wants to believe him. She wants to let go of the weight, but she doesn't know how, because being perfect kept her alive. Being perfect earned their respect. Being perfect is the only reason they see her at all. They didn't respect you because you're perfect, the commander says, reading her thoughts. They respect you because when it mattered most, you stood up. You could have stayed in the corner, you could have let them die, but you didn't. That's why you're Ghost, not because you're perfect, because you're brave. 1 year after Syria, Elena Vasquez stands in front of a training class at a classified facility. 24 recruits, men and women, all of them selected for Project Phantom, all of them looking at her like she's something mythical. "My name is Elena Vasquez," she begins. "Most of you know me as Ghost, and I'm here to tell you that everything you've heard about me is a lie." The room shifts, confused. "I'm not fearless," she continues. "I'm terrified most of the time. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I doubt myself. I've wanted to quit more times than I can count. So why am I standing here? Why did I survive Syria when I should have died? Not because I'm special. Because I refuse to let fear make my decisions." She walks among them, looks into their eyes. "You're going to fail. You're going to be scared. You're going to want to give up. And when that happens, remember this. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up. And being a ghost isn't about being invisible. It's about choosing when to be seen." One recruit raises her hand. She's small, younger than the others, reminds Elena of herself. "What if we're not good enough?" Elena smiles. Not the polite smile she uses in debriefings, a real smile. "Then you get better, that's the secret. You don't have to be the best on day one. You just have to be better than you were yesterday. And then you do it again. And again. Until one day you wake up and realize you became the person you needed to be." After the class, the young recruit approaches. "Can I ask you something?" Elena nods. "How did you deal with them not believing in you? In Syria, I mean, when they called you dead weight." Elena considers the question. "I didn't need them to believe in me," she says finally. "I believed in myself, and that was enough. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Other people's opinions don't define you. Your actions do. And when your actions speak louder than their words, the opinions don't matter anymore." The recruit nods, but Elena can see the doubt still there. The same doubt she carried for so long. "Listen to me," Elena says. "You're going to meet people who underestimate you, who dismiss you, who think you don't belong. Let them. Because while they're busy doubting you, you're going to be busy becoming extraordinary. And when the moment comes, when everything falls apart and they need a miracle, you're going to be the one who delivers it. Not for them, for yourself." The recruit's eyes water. "Thank you," she whispers. Elena puts a hand on her shoulder. "Don't thank me yet. The hard part hasn't even started. But when it does, when you're in the darkest moment of your life, remember this. You are not alone. Every woman who wore this uniform before you, everyone who comes after, we're all connected. Your victory is our victory. Your strength is our strength. And we don't leave each other behind." That night, Elena sits in her quarters. She writes a letter, not to send, just to process. "Dear Mom, I wish you could see me now. Not because I want you to be proud, though I hope you are, but because I finally understand what you meant. The smallest hands can unlock the biggest doors. You weren't talking about size. You were talking about perspective, about seeing paths others miss, about understanding that different doesn't mean less. You taught me that, and it saved my life." She pauses, wipes her eyes. "I'm not the girl who left El Paso anymore, but I'm not entirely sure who I've become. Am I Ghost? Am I Elena? Am I both? I don't have the answers yet, but I'm learning that maybe I don't need them. Maybe it's okay to be a work in progress. Maybe it's okay to be strong and scared at the same time. Maybe it's okay to be exactly who I am, imperfections and all." She folds the letter, puts it in a drawer with dozens of others. Unsent letters to a mother she calls every week but can't tell about her work, can't tell about Syria, can't tell about the nightmares that wake her at 3 a.m. But maybe that's okay too. Maybe some stories aren't meant to be told. Maybe some victories are meant to be quiet. Maybe the greatest strength is not in the recognition, but in the doing. Elena Vasquez sleeps that night. And for the first time in a year, she doesn't dream of the tunnel, doesn't dream of the compound, doesn't dream of failing. She dreams of home, of her mother's kitchen, of the smell of tortillas on the stove, of being small and loved and enough. And when she wakes, she carries that warmth into the day, into the missions, into the impossible, because she's learned the most important lesson of all. She doesn't have to be Ghost all the time. Sometimes she can just be Alina. And that's enough. 5 years after Syria, Alina Ghost Vasquez walks through Arlington National Cemetery. She's not here for a funeral, not today. She's here because sometimes she needs to remember what's at stake. She stops at a headstone, not someone she knew, just a soldier, just a name, but behind that name is a story, a life, a family, and she carries them all. Every mission she plans, every operator she guides home, they carry the weight of the names on these stones. She thinks about the mission that made her legend, the compound in Syria, the tunnel, the 15 minutes that changed everything. People call it her finest hour, her defining moment, but she knows the truth. It wasn't her finest hour. It was her most terrified. It wasn't her defining moment. It was the moment she stopped letting fear define her. And that makes all the difference. Her phone buzzes. New mission alert. High priority. She reads the brief. Hostage situation. American journalist. Captured by militants. Location deep in hostile territory. Extraction nearly impossible. Time window 72 hours. She's seen this scenario before. She knows how it ends. But she also knows something else. Impossible is just a word people use before Ghost shows up. She arrives at the briefing. The room is tense. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. The journalist has information that could compromise intelligence networks across the region. If she talks, dozens of assets die. If she's executed, the propaganda value is catastrophic. Either way, they lose unless. We go in, Alina says. The room turns to her. It's a death trap, someone argues. Every approach is covered. Air support is compromised. Even if we get in, extraction is impossible. I know, Alina says. That's why they won't expect it. She pulls up the map, studies the terrain, and she sees it. Not a path, not a route, a gamble. We use the storm sewers, she says. The city's infrastructure is pre-war. The maps are outdated, but I've been studying satellite imagery. There's a network they don't know about. We go underground. We surface inside their perimeter. We're gone before they know we were there. And if the sewers are blocked, if the imagery is wrong, then we adapt, Alina says. Her voice is steady, certain. Not because she knows she's right, but because uncertainty is part of the job and she's made peace with it. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again, but I've never been wrong about when to try. And this journalist, she's worth the risk. The mission is approved. Alina leads a team of 8. They enter the sewers at midnight. The darkness is absolute. The smell is overwhelming. The water is chest-deep in places, and Alina moves through it like it's a garden path. She's done this before. Different city, different mission. Same principle. Go where no one expects. Be where no one looks. Exist in the spaces between their certainty. They reach the target building. The journalist is in the basement, 2 guards, 12 more scattered throughout the structure. The math is bad, but Alina has never been good at math anyway. She's good at geometry, at angles, at seeing patterns. And right now she sees a pattern in the guard's rotation. A 60-second window, that's all they need. She signals her team. They move like water, fluid, silent, unstoppable. The guards never see them coming. One moment they're smoking cigarettes and complaining about the heat. The next they're unconscious on the floor. The journalist stares at Alina with wide eyes. Who are you? Alina cuts her restraints. Someone who's going to get you home. They'll hear us. They'll never know we were here, Alina says. Now move. They retrace their path. Through the building, through the sewers, through the dark. And just when they're clear, when they're 50 meters from the extraction point, everything goes wrong. An explosion, not close, but close enough. The sewers shake. Water surges. And Alina realizes what happened. They weren't discovered, but someone else triggered an IED. And the blast destabilized the tunnel system. The ceiling is collapsing. Run, she screams, and they run through the water, through the debris, through the dark. The tunnel behind them is disintegrating, concrete crashing, water flooding, and Alina is at the back, making sure everyone gets out. The journalist stumbles. Alina catches her, pushes her forward. Go, go. The exit is 10 meters away, 5 meters. and the tunnel behind Alina collapses completely. She doesn't think, she doesn't calculate, she jumps, throws herself toward the exit. Her team reaches back, pulls her through, and the tunnel seals behind her like a tomb. They made it, all of them, 0 casualties, mission success again. But Alina lies on the ground, gasping, because for the first time in her career she wasn't sure she'd make it. For the first time the path wasn't clear. She just ran and hoped, and that terrifies her more than anything. Back at base, the journalist finds her. "I want to thank you," she says, "for risking your life." Alina shakes her head. "I didn't risk my life, I did my job. That's the same thing." "No," Alina says, "it's not. Risk implies a choice. I didn't choose this. This is who I am. This is what I do, and I wouldn't change it even if I could." The journalist considers that. "Can I ask you something? How do you do it? How do you walk into the impossible and make it look easy?" Alina laughs. Not a happy sound, a tired one. "It's not easy, it's never easy. Every mission I'm terrified. Every decision I'm second-guessing myself. Every step I'm wondering if this is the one that ends badly. But I do it anyway, because someone has to. And I'd rather it be me than someone who's not prepared." "But what if you fail?" Alina meets her eyes. "Then I fail and I learn from it and I get better and I try again, because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. The only real failure is not trying at all." The journalist nods. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know, someone harder, more distant, more like a ghost." Alina smiles. "I'm not a ghost. I'm just a woman who learned to move through the dark. And sometimes, that's all it takes to make a difference." The journalist leaves, and Alina sits alone. She thinks about Syria, about the tunnel, about every mission since. And she realizes something. She's not trying to prove herself anymore. She's not trying to earn their respect. She's not trying to be Ghost. She's just trying to do the work, to be useful, to make a difference. And somewhere along the way that became enough. Not because she changed, but because she accepted who she was, imperfect, terrified, but willing, always willing. So remember this. The quiet one in the corner might be the most dangerous person in the room. The one they overlook might be the one who saves everyone. And the person they call Ghost, she might be the most real warrior you'll ever meet. Not because she's fearless, but because she faces fear and acts anyway. Not because she's perfect, but because she's brave enough to be imperfect. Not because she's invisible, but because she chooses when to be seen. And that choice, that willingness to step into the light when it matters most, that's not just courage, that's grace. And grace in the darkest moments is the most powerful weapon of all. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. And in that action it changes everything.